They hit the car door 6 inches from her face. She didn't flinch. Her sister was across campus, alone, no warning. Two of them, one of her, a parking lot chosen deliberately, a plan 3 days in the making. They had done this before, to 9 others, and every single time it worked, because the others left quietly. These two didn't know how to leave. 4 weeks of painted doors, of systems dressed in suit dismantling them from the inside. 4 weeks of swallowing fire. Tonight they pushed past the line. His hand came out a third time. Across campus, a phone rang once. Neither sister said a word. They didn't need to. The night before everything changed, Zara Rivers sat in the parking lot of a police station in a town she had lived in for exactly 4 weeks and watched the sun come up over a building that was holding her sister inside it. She had been there since midnight. She was still there at 5 in the morning when her father's truck pulled in. She did not move when she heard the engine, did not turn around, just sat on the concrete curb with her arms on her knees and her eyes on the front door of the Millfield Police Department and waited for the sound of his footsteps to reach her. They did. He sat down next to her on the curb without saying anything, looked at the same door she was looking at. His travel mug of coffee sat between them, cold by now, useless, brought out of habit more than intention. After a while he said, I know, Zara said. They said she's okay. I know, Dad. He was quiet again. The sky was doing that thing it does just before sunrise, where the darkness doesn't disappear so much as it slowly becomes something else. Gray first, then lighter. She defended herself, Zara said. I was there. I watched the foot of the whole thing from across the lot. He pushed her first. Him and Gareth both. She didn't start it. Her father said nothing. They arrested her anyway. He put his hand on her shoulder, just for a moment. Then he took it back and looked at the door again. I know, he said. 4 weeks, that was all it had taken. 4 weeks to go from the best news of their lives to sitting on a curb outside a police station before the sun came up. Zara looked at the building and tried to remember the beginning. She tried to remember what it felt like before any of this. It had felt like a Tuesday. The letter arrived on a Tuesday in late July. Zara was in the kitchen when it came through on her phone. Email notification. Subject line from the Crestwood University Office of Admission. She read it standing at the counter with a glass of water in her hand that she forgot to drink. Full scholarship, both of them. She set the glass down, picked it back up, set it down again. Dana came in from the hallway still in her sleep shirt, eyes half open, hair completely uninterested in the day ahead, and stopped when she saw Zara's face. What? Dana said. Zara held up her phone. Dana read it. Once. She was the kind of person who only needed to read something once. Then she looked up. They stood in that kitchen for a moment, just the two of them, in the early morning quiet before the world started moving. And neither of them said anything, 'cause there was nothing that language was going to do justice to. They had worked for this. Not in the abstract, general way people say they worked for things. In the specific, real way. Early mornings and late nights. Grades that required more than talent, required the kind of consistency that other people called discipline, but felt, from the inside, more like survival. Athletic certifications and training hours and recommendation letters written by people who had watched them earn every word, both of them, together. That was the part Zara had been most afraid of. Not getting in without Dana. Having to choose between her sister and the opportunity. She didn't have to choose. They both got in. Their father was in the doorway by the time they looked up. He had heard everything from the hallway. In that way, he heard things, quiet and total, missing nothing. His face was what it always was. Still, contained. The face of a man who felt things fully and showed them carefully. He crossed the room and put one hand on each of their shoulders. He didn't say congratulations, didn't make a speech. He just said, I know. And that was the right thing. That was exactly the right thing. Drevers was 52 years old and had the kind of presence that rooms adjusted to when he walked in. Not because he was loud, because he was the opposite of loud. He was the kind of quiet that made other people aware of how much noise they were making. He had spent 22 years in the Army, came home when the girls were 9, spent the next 12 years doing 2 things, raising them and running the training gym he built out of a converted warehouse on the east side of their hometown in Georgia. The gym was not fancy. It had second-hand equipment and lighting that flickered in the back room and bathroom that required a specific kind of familiarity to operate. But it was his, and it was serious. People drove 40 minutes to train there because Duran Rivers was the kind of coach who did not waste your time and did not let you waste your own. He started training Zara and Dana when they were 11, not because he wanted to make them fighters, because he had seen enough of the world to know that the world did not always treat people fairly. And he wanted his daughters to be prepared for that in every way he could prepare them. Muay Thai for Zara, Jiu-Jitsu for Dana, not because the disciplines chose them, but because they chose the disciplines, slowly over years of trying things and finding what fit. By the time they were 21 and heading to Crestwood University on full scholarships, Zara held a black belt and Dana held a black belt, and their father held the specific kind of quiet pride that looks, from the outside, like calm. Crestwood University sat in a town called Millfield in the western part of South Carolina. The town was the kind of town that had been wealthy for so long it had stopped noticing what it looked like. Wide streets, old trees, houses with porches that seemed to exist primarily so that the people inside them could feel good about having a porch. The university itself was older than most things around it, brick buildings and stone paths, hedges trimmed to a width that required professional attention. Banners in deep green and gold hanging between the buildings, the Crestwood seal clean and sharp on everyone. Zara noticed all of it the moment they pulled through the front gate. She noticed it the way she noticed things, cataloged it, filed it away. The distance between the buildings and the way the paths connected them. The positioning of the security cameras near the main entrance. The places where the landscaping created blind spots. Habit. Her father had told her to know her bosses before she settled into it. Dana was doing something different. Dana was looking at the people. Students moving across the quad in small groups, easy and unhurried, with the specific comfort of people who have been told, in 100 small ways, that this place was built for them, who arrived already certain of their welcome. There were not many faces that looked like theirs. Neither of them said it out loud. Neither of them needed to. Duran parked the truck and cut the engine. He sat for a moment with his hands on the wheel, looking at the campus through the windshield. Then he said, "You ready?" Zara opened her door. "We're already here," she said. Moving in took most of the morning. The room was smaller than the photos had suggested, which Dana had refused to believe as a possibility until she stood in the doorway with 2 bags on her shoulders and said quietly and with great precision, "Oh, 2 beds, 2 desks, 1 window facing the parking lot, a shared closet that required a brief negotiation about which side belonged to whom. They made it work. That was what they did." Duran carried the heavy boxes without being asked. He put them where Zara pointed. He did not offer opinions about the furniture arrangement or suggest this system for the closet. He helped, and then he stepped back, which was the thing he had always known how to do. When to be present, when to give them room. When the last box was inside, he stood in the center of the room and looked around. "Good bones," he said. Zara looked at him. He was looking at the window. She understood. He meant the room. He also might have meant something else. "We'll be fine," she said. "I know you will," he said. He meant that too. He stayed for lunch and left in the late afternoon. The goodbye was not long. Duran was not a man who prolonged goodbyes. He hugged them both. He said he would call when he got back to Georgia. He said if anything happened, anything at all, they called him first. Dana said they would. He looked at Zara specifically when he said it, because he knew Dana would, and he was less certain about Zara, who had a tendency to manage things internally until the managing became harder than just saying something. Zara held his gaze. "First," she said. He nodded. Got in his truck. Drove out through the front gate. They stood on the path and watched the truck until it turned the corner. Then Dana said, "Dining hall opens in 40 minutes." And they went to dinner. The dining hall was large and bright, and full of the specific noise that comes from 100 conversations happening in the same room. Zama Zephyr carried her tray and moved through the space with Dana beside her, and they found a table near the back wall. Not hiding. Positioning. They wanted to see the whole room before they decided what they were looking at. They ate and they watched. Most people didn't look at them for long. A few did. There was a particular table near the window. 5 students arranged in the loose formation of people who are entirely comfortable wherever they sit, because comfort is not something they have ever had to work for. One of them was leaning back in his chair with his arms crossed. Light hair, jaw slightly too square for his face, wearing his clothes the way people wear things when they know someone is going to look at them. He noticed Zara looking, held the look for exactly 1 second too long, then glanced away, not curious, assessing, like he had looked at her to determine something and had determined it and was done. Zara went back to her food. Dana said by the window, "I saw them, the one with the I saw him." Dana picked up her fork. Okay. They did not talk about it again that night. His name was Trey Harlow. They found that out the next morning, not because they asked, but because at Crestwood, certain circulated the way weather circulated. You didn't seek them out. They arrived. They became part of the air. Tweet 2, Junior, president of the Student Affairs Committee, which sounded administrative and minor until you understood what it actually controlled. Housings assignments, campus event approvals, scholarship review processes. The quiet machine that touched every student in ways that most students never thought about because it never worked against them. His father was Senator Boyd Harlow, South Carolina, 3rd term. That was the part that explained the rest. The first week moved the way first weeks move when you are paying close attention to everything. Fast in the details, long in the feeling. Classes were good, better than good in places. Zara had a professor in her economics seminar who taught like the material actually mattered to him, which was rarer than it should have been. Dana found the best study room in the library by and claimed it with the quiet territorial efficiency she's tied to most things. They were adapting. But the other thing was happening too. It was small. The kind of small you could argue yourself out of noticing if you were inclined to argue with yourself. A cluster of students who shifted just slightly when they walked into the common room. Not enough to call intentional, just enough to leave a gap that was not quite an invitation. A conversation that stopped a beat too early when they sat nearby. A smile offered and then immediately qualified by eyes that had not agreed to participate. Small things. Zara collected them anyway, filed them. Not because she was looking for a pattern, but because she had learned, over 21 years of being herself in the world, that small things did not generally stay small. They were usually just big things that hadn't found enough room yet. It was Dana who caught the first direct one, Wednesday evening. She was coming back from the gym, taking the shortcut past the East Building, earbuds in but volume low the way she kept it when she was walking alone after dark. 2 students near the building entrance. She didn't know them. They were talking, and one of them glanced up as she passed and said something, under his breath, to his friend. But not low enough. Dana heard it. She kept walking. 1 step, 2, 3. She made it back to the room before she stopped moving, dropped her bag, sat on the edge of her bed, and just breathed. Zara came in less than a minute later. She had been in the building already, had heard Dana's footsteps in the hallway, and known immediately from the sound of them that something had happened. Zara had always been able to read Dana in motion. The weight of her steps says everything before she opened her mouth. "What happens?" Zara said. Not a question. A door she was opening, Dana told her, word for word. She remembered things precisely and completely, which was useful for exams and terrible for moments like this. Zara listened to all of it without moving. "Did you see his face?" she said. "Yes. Would you recognize him?" "Yes." Zara nodded once, slow. "We knew it might be like this," she said. So Dana looked at her. Knowing it and living it are 2 different things. Zara was quiet for a moment. The room was quiet. Down the hall, someone laughed at something. A bright, ordinary sound that had nothing to do with them. "They are," Zara said. "You're right." She sat down on her own bed across from her sister. They looked at each other in the way they had been looking at each other their whole lives, which was not quite like how most people looked at each other. More complete. More of a full exchange. "We call Dad," Dana said. "Not yet," Zara said. Dana raised an eyebrow. "One incident," Zara said. "We wait until we have more than one thing to tell him. He'll want the full picture." "Fine." "Fine," she said. "But we tell him. We tell him." Trey made himself known in person on a Thursday afternoon in the 2nd week. Not loudly, not dramatically. He was too calculating for dramatic. He preferred the slow approach, the kind that left you wondering afterward, or whether anything had actually happened or whether you were reading into it. He passed them in the main corridor. He was with Gareth and Spence, both of whom walk the way people walk, when they have decided that proximity to a particular person is itself a form of status. He stopped, right in front of them. Easy. Like he had just happened to pause, like there was nothing coordinated about it at all, like the corridor had simply brought him to this spot and he was just responding to that. You two are the new scholarship students, he said. His voice was friendly. That was the thing. He had worked at sounding friendly. You could tell because it was exactly 1 degree too warm. Zara looked him. We are. Impressive, he said. And the word landed in the way that something lands when you have removed the inside of it. The shape of a compliment with nothing good being inside. Crestwood doesn't give those out easily. We know, Dana said, his eyes moved to her. Then, his back to Zara, a decision made quickly and filed away. Hope you're settling in, he said. Then he moved on. His people moved with him. Neither of them looked back. Zara and Dana stood in the corridor. He already knows everything about us, Dana said. Yes, that wasn't friendliness. No, Zara said. That was something taking your measure. The scholarship email arrived on a Thursday morning in the 3rd week. Zara was in the library, 2nd floor, at the table she had started to think of as hers. Her phone buzzed. She looked at the notification. Read the subject line, Scholarship Status Review, action Johnny required. She opened it. The Office of Financial Aid informed her, in language that was careful and completely empty of specifics, that her scholarship was under administrative review due to a discrepancy identified in her original application materials. Her status was classified as pending until the review concluded. She read it twice. Then she sat very still and breathed through the thing climbing up her chest because there was no discrepancy. She knew her application completely. Every document, every form, every supporting file. Her grades were what they needed to be. Her recommendations said what they needed to say. Her athletic certification had been signed and confirmed before she ever arrived on this campus. There was no discrepancy, which meant someone had built one. Dana appeared at the table 8 minutes later, not running. Dana didn't run in public for ordinary things, but she had moved fast. Zara could tell by how evenly she was breathing now. I worked to flatten it out. When did you get this? Dana said. 15 minutes ago. Financial aid office first, Dana said. Then whoever's above them. Zara looked at her. Dana was already thinking. The way she thought was visible if you knew where to look. The jaw settling. The eyes going a fraction of a degree distant. Student Affairs Committee reviews scholarship appeals, Dana said. They sat with that for a moment. Neither of them said his name. I need to confirm it before I say anything, Zara said. I go in person. I ask to see the specific discrepancy. I ask for documentation. And if they can't show you anything, then I know. Dana's hands were flat on the table. This is what he does, she said. Not heated. Clinical. Like she was identifying a mechanism. I've been listening for 3 weeks in that dining hall in those common rooms. I've heard at least 3 mentioned students who started here on scholarship and then just weren't here anymore. She paused. Nobody ever finishes the sentence. They always stop right before the part that would explain what happened. Zara absorbed this. We need more than that, she said. I know. But it fits, Zara agreed. That's different from proof. Patricia Boone in the financial aid office was professional in the way that people are professional when they have been trained to be professional, specifically in situations like this. She offered Zara a seat. She had a copy of the email ready. She spoke carefully. The discrepancy, she said, was related to a supporting document in Zara's application file. Which document? She couldn't specify during an active review. Why not? Standards procedure. How long would the review take? 2 to 4 weeks typically. What could Zara do to expedite it? Submit written statement affirming the accuracy of her materials. Would that resolve it? It would be considered. Zara thanked her, stood up, walked out. She made it to the hallway, stood with one hand against the wall, and looked at the floor for 10 seconds. She texted Dana one word. Him, Dana replied in under 5 seconds. I know. They called their father that night. He answered on the second ring. Zara had told Dana she wanted to call him without her first, just to say it out loud to someone outside of herself before they said it together. Dana understood. She gave Zara the room and went to the common area down the hall. Zara sat on her bed and told Duranton everything, the email, Patricia Boone, the careful nothing of the whole conversation, what Dana had noticed about the students who had left. He listened without interrupting. Dad, she said when she was done. He's done this before. To other people. Maybe, he said, not maybe. Zara. His voice was even, not dismissive, corrective. Possible and certain are two different things, and you know that. I know the difference. I know you do. That's exactly why I'm saying it. You're angry right now. Anger makes you fast. Fast is good when you need it. This isn't that moment yet. She pressed her back against the wall, looked at the ceiling. Then what do I do right now, she said. You document everything, he said. Every email, every conversation, every name, every date. You build the picture carefully, and you don't move until the picture is complete. And when it's complete, he was quiet for a moment. Then you let them make their mistakes, he said, and you're ready when they do. The third week was worse, not in one large event, in the way that sustained pressure works, which is by accumulation. By the thing you can almost explain away, followed by the thing you almost can, followed by the thing after that, until you have a stack of almost explainable things that together form something completely clear. Gareth knocked into Dana outside the science building. Her coffee went down. His apology was immediate and charming and absolutely empty. Spence sat near Zara in the library and made a long phone call at a volume that required her to relocate. When she moved, he moved to a position nearby. She moved again. He was already getting up. A note slid under the door of their room, handwritten. 7 words. You don't belong here. Go home. Zara put it in the desk drawer. Evidence, Dana said. Zara closed the drawer without answering. She was building the picture. She had started with the students she could identify from public records and directory archives, and names from social media, information findable if you knew what pattern to look for. Students who had arrived at Crestwood on scholarship in the past 3 years. Students of color. Students who were no longer here. She had 5 names by the end of the 2nd week, 7 by the end of the 3rd. All of them had been here. All of them were gone. Most of them had left in the 1st year. Monday morning of the 4th week. They were running late. Class in 15 minutes across the quad. Dana grabbed her bag and Zara grabbed hers, and they moved into the hallway and turned toward their door, and stopped. Someone had been there in the night. The door was covered. Red paint, black paint, still slightly tacky at the edges where it had taken longer to dry. Words that existed not to communicate, but to reduce. To take a person and make them into a category, and then attack the category. Words that had been used exactly this way for a very long time, which was part of why they landed the way they did. Below the words, drawn in thick marker, images. Caricatures, the specific kind that reach back through decades of deliberate dehumanization to do their work again. Zara stood very still. Down the hall, a door opened. A student came out, saw the door, and looked at Zara. Then at Dana, then at the floor, kept walking. A Sexton student. Same sequence. A third, with a phone in his hand. Zara watched him type something as he rounded the corner. 4 people had walked past. 4 people had seen it. 0 had stopped. Dana put her hand on Zara's arm, not to hold her back, just to be there. Contact. Dana said, instead, why he wants the reaction. I know, not here, Zara. I know. She looked at the door for one more second. She looked at the words and the images and the wet edges of the paint. She let herself see it completely. Because she was not going to let herself look away, and she was not going to pretend it was smaller than it was. And she was not going to give him the satisfaction of falling apart in the hallway where everyone could watch. Then she turned and walked to class. The Sejon Water walked beside her of them, spoke until they reached the building entrance, and then Dana said, he filmed us. He filmed the door, Zara said. No, he filmed us standing there. I saw the angle when the 3rd one left. Zara absorbed this. Good, she said. Dana looked at her. If he filmed us standing in front of it, Zara said, then we filmed us standing in front of it too. He just made us look like exactly what we are. She held the door open. Dana walked through. They went to class. The video was circulating in the student network by 8:45. Someone sent Zara the link at noon. She watched it in a stairwell between buildings. 15 seconds. The door, the words, the paint. And at the end, a wide shot of her and Dana from behind. Back straight. Straight. Heads up, she put her phone away. She went to her next class. Dr. Evelyn Shaw's office was on the top floor of the administration building, corner room. Wide windows that must have cost the university real money to install. Bookshelves on 2 walls, books arranged by color in a way that told you they were there to be seen, not read. Dr. Shaw was in her late 50s and carried the specific manner of someone who had spent many years managing situations rather than resolving them. She was precise. She chose her words the way some people chose furniture. for how they looked in the room. She gestured to the chairs when Zara and Dana came in. They sat. I wanted to speak with you directly, Dr. Shaw said, before this situation becomes more complicated. Zara waited. What happened to your door is completely unacceptable, she said. I want to be clear about that. There will be an investigation. Thank you, Dana said. However, a pause. Half a beat placed deliberately. I want to have an honest conversation with you about the environment at Crestwood. There it was. Crestwood is a wonderful institution, Dr. Shaw continued, but it has a particular culture, a particular history. For students who are new to that culture, the adjustment can be significant. What I want to make sure is that you have the support you need. If that means reconsidering whether Crestwood is the right fit for this stage of your education, the school has resources to help facilitate. You're suggesting we leave, Zara said. Dr. Shaw's expression did not shift. I'm suggesting we explore what best supports your success. Someone painted slurs on our door last night, Dana said that, while we were sleeping inside. I understand that, and your response is to ask whether we're sure we want to stay. I know what you're trying to do, Dana said. The room was very quiet. She looked at Dr. Shaw across the large desk and the bookshelves and the wide, expensive windows, and she said, we're not leaving. Dr. Shaw blinked. We are enrolled students, Zara said, with valid scholarships and clean records. What you should be doing is finding out who did that to our door, not sitting across from us, suggesting we're the problem. She stood up. Dana stood at exactly the same moment. Thank you for your time, Zara said. They walked out. They made it to the stairwell before Dana pulled Zara sideways into the alcove between two offices. Wait, she said. Zara waited. Dana's breathing was controlled and careful. Something was working itself out. She wasn't surprised, Dana said. She managed us. There's a difference. If she found out this morning like we did, she would have been less smooth. She would have used different words. Dana lowered her voice. She had that speech ready. She has said it before. Zara looked at her. He is cover, Dana said. Trey, inside that building. Someone is letting this happen and has been letting it happen. And that is why it has kept happening. The weight of it settled between them. Real, specific, larger than either of them had let themselves say out loud until this moment. We call Dad, Zara said. Yes, Dana said. Now. They called him that night. Both of them this time. Together. Daron answered on the second ring. They went through all of it. The door, the video, the 15-second clip of themselves standing in front of it, Dr. Shaw's office, and the speech that had been delivered too smoothly to be improvised. Dana's conclusion about the cover inside the building. He listened to every word. When they finished, there was silence on the line that lasted about 4 seconds, which was longer than his usual silence, which meant he was deciding something. I'm coming, he said. Zara started to say he didn't have to. I'm coming, he said again. Not louder, just more final. They didn't argue. When, Dana said. Tomorrow night. I'll stay nearby. They were quiet for a moment. You remember what I've always told you, he said. Control is power, Zara said. Control is power. What else? Pick your moment, Dana said. Not theirs, he said. Yours. They want you to react. What you give them instead is patience. And when the time is right, we move, Zara said. You move, he said. The distinction mattered, and he had always been careful about it. Not I move. You, the line was quiet. Tomorrow night, Dana said. Tomorrow night, he confirmed. The room settled around them. Outside, the campus was doing what campuses do in the evening. Voices somewhere down the quad, footsteps on the stone path. The ordinary sounds of a place that had been here a long time and expected to be here much longer, indifferent to the people inside it, certain of its own permanence. Zara looked at the desk drawer. The note was still inside it. 7 words she was not going to let determine a single thing about what happened next. She turned off her lamp. Dana's went off 2 seconds later, the way it always did, had always done as far back as either of them could remember. Zara, yeah, he's underestimating us. He is. They always do. Zaza looked at the ceiling in the dark. She thought about the note, about Dr. Shaw's rehearsed speech, about the video of them standing in front of their own defaced door, backs straight, heads up, because they were not going to give him anything else. It's always the mistake, she said. Not to Dana, not to the room, just out into the quiet, a small thing, a certain thing, and she held on to it all the way until morning. Daron arrived on a Wednesday evening. He drove up from Georgia in just under 6 hours, which was faster than he usually drove. Though he would not have said that if anyone asked. He pulled into the parking lot of the Extended Stay Hotel 3 blocks from campus at 7:41, cut the engine, and sat for a moment with his hands on the wheel the way he always did when he arrived somewhere new. He looked at the windshield. Then he got out. He texted Zara, one word. Here she replied in under 10 seconds. Coming, they met him in the parking lot, both of them. Zara 2 steps ahead, Dana half a step behind, which was how they moved when something had been sitting on them. Zara carried it forward. Dana carried it close. He looked at them the way he always looked at them when he hadn't seen them in a while. Not a scan for injury, something deeper. Checking for what was underneath. They looked tired. They looked like they had been holding something for a long time without letting it show, which he recognized because he had taught them how to do it. He held his arms open. Dana came in first. Then Zara. He held them both for a moment in the hotel parking lot, under the overhead lights, without saying anything, because there was nothing to say yet that mattered more than being there. Then he stepped back. "We were waiting for you," Zara said. "There's a diner 2 blocks east," Dana said. "I looked it up." He picked up his bag from back of the truck. "Show me," he said. The diner was the kind of place that had been in the same location for a long time and had stopped trying to look like anything other than what it was. Booths with cracked vinyl seats that had been repaired with tape in a few places. A counter with stools. A menu on a board above the register that had not changed significantly since someone installed it. They ordered Digrun. Dotgrun got coffee and eggs. The girls got whatever was in front of them, which told him they were not particularly focused on food. He waited until the server walked away. Then he said, "Tell me everything, from the beginning." They did. They went through it the way they always went through things when they talked to him together. Back and forth, filling in each other's gaps, one starting a thread and the other picking it up before it could drop. Zara Gemtes Secience. Dana gave him the detail. Together they built the complete picture. The first week. The looks. The way rooms shifted when they entered. Gareth and the coffee, Spence and the library, the note under the door, the scholarship email, Patricia Boone's careful nothing, the threads that Zara had started pulling about the students who had left, the door on Monday morning, the paint, the words, the 4 people who walked past and said nothing, the video, Dr. Shaw's office, the speech. Dana's read on it. Durance listened to all of it without interrupting once. The food came. He ate steadily and listened. The coffee was decent. He kept his eyes on whichever of them was speaking, which was something they had grown up with, the experience of having his full attention, and which still, even now, had the effect of making it easier to say things clearly. When they finished, he was quiet for a moment. He looked at his coffee cup. "How many Zims do you have?" he said. Zara knew he meant the students. 7, she said. "I'm still looking." "What do you have on each of them?" "Enrollment dates, departure, what I can find publicly about why. 2 of them I have from social media, posts they made after leaving. One of them mentioned a scholarship review in a comment, used almost the same language as my email." He nodded slowly, processing. "She knew," Dana said, "not just about the door, about the pattern. That speech wasn't something she made up that morning." "You're certain?" "Hesitate," Dana said. "People hesitate when they're improvising. She didn't." He was quiet again. "Dad," Zara said, "this is bigger than us." "Yes," he said, "it is." He looked at her. "That doesn't change what we do next. It just changes how careful we have to be about doing it." He picked up his coffee. "You keep building the file. Every name, every date, every piece of correspondence. You do nothing with it until it's complete and you show it to me first." "And Trey," Dana said. Duran looked at her. "He's going to keep going," she said. It was not a complaint. It was an assessment. He's been doing this for 3 years. He's not going to stop because we stayed in Dr. Shaw's office and walked out. He's going to read that as not working yet. "Yes," Duran said. "He will. So what do we do?" Duran set his cup down. "You do what I taught you," he said. "You control it. You document what you see. You don't give him the reaction he's looking for." He paused. "And you trust that people like him always go too far eventually. That's not hope, that's pattern. They go too far, and when they do, you're ready." Dana absorbed this. "How do you know he'll go too far?" she said. Duran looked at her with the expression of a man who had seen enough of the world to have stopped being surprised by it. "Because he already thinks he has," he said. "And nothing happened. That's the most dangerous thing you can tell someone like him, that there are no consequences. They sat with that. Outside the diner, the street was quiet. A car passed. Someone walked a dog, the ordinary world going on around them the way it always did. Zara looked at her plate. "We're not leaving," she said. Not to him, not really, just out loud. I know. He spent 3 days on campus, not visibly. He was not the kind of man who needed to be seen to be present. He walked campus with them in the evenings, after their classes, learning the geography the same way he learned all spaces. Quietly, methodically, where things were, how they connected, where the cameras were, and where they weren't. He met them for meals. He sat with them in the common area of their building one evening and read a book while they worked, which was something he had done when they were studying for exams in high school. His presence in the room had always had a specific quality, not pressure, something closer to ballast. On the second evening, he took them to an empty parking lot near the hotel after dinner. They didn't need to ask what for. He ran them through drills for 90 minutes, not to teach them anything new, to remind their bodies of what they already knew. There was a difference between holding technique in your mind and having it live in your muscle, and he knew that stress, sustained stress, had a way of creating distance between those two things. He wanted to close that distance. Zatara worked combinations, clean, efficient. She had always been efficient. No extra motion, everything with a purpose. Dana worked ground transitions. Her jiu-jitsu had a quality that he had watched develop over years of training, a kind of patient intelligence that was rare. She didn't fight force with force. She redirected. She waited for the opening, and then she was already through it before the other person had finished deciding. He watched them both. When they finished, breathing hard in the cool night air, he said one thing. "If it comes to it," he said, "and I mean if it genuinely comes to it and you have no other choice, you do exactly what I just watched you do. Nothing more, nothing less. Controlled, purposeful." They looked at him. "And then you call me," he said, immediately before anything else. He drove back to Georgia on Friday morning. They stood in the hotel parking lot and watched him go. "He's worried," Dana said. "He's prepared," Zara said. Dana thought about this. "Is there," she said. Zara watched the truck turn out of the lot. "He taught us one," she said, "not the other." The week after Deron left, Trey changed tactics. Not dramatically, not in a way you could point to cleanly and say, "Here, this is where it shifted." But Zara felt it. The texture of things changed. The low-level friction that had been consistent for 3 weeks became something more focused. It was in the way Trey looked at them now when they crossed paths, not the assessing look from the first week. Something that had made a decision and was past the assessment stage. Gareth stopped pretending the bumps in the hallway were accidents. He stopped apologizing. He just looked at Dana after he did it, held the look for a second, and moved on. Spence started appearing in places that required him to have made a specific decision to be there. The table adjacent to theirs in the dining hall. The bench near the building entrance where Zara went between her afternoon classes. Not close enough to confront, close enough to communicate. "We see you. We're still here. The earlier stuff didn't work, so we're letting you know we haven't stopped." Zara filed all of it. She was up to 9 names in files. Was building. 9 students, 3 years. All scholarship recipients, all students of color, all gone. She had found 2 more through a private Facebook group for former Crestwood students. She had not joined the group. She had found it through a profile linked to one of the 7 names she already had. And she had looked at what was visible without an account. One post from 18 months ago from a young woman named Brianna, who had been at Crestwood for 1 semester before leaving, said only, "Don't go there if you want to be treated like you belong. The system is set up against you before you walk in the door." 43 people had liked the post. Nobody had replied. Zara took a screenshot and added it to the file. Twist 3. It was a Thursday night in the 4th week. Dana had been in the library until 9:30, finishing a paper that was due Friday morning. She texted Zara when she left. She took the shortcut back, which cut through the east side campus and brought her past the science building, through the smaller parking lot, and up toward the residence halls. She had done it a dozen times. It was faster. She knew the route. What she did not know was that Trey knew she knew it. She was halfway across the parking lot when she heard the footsteps. Not behind her, ahead of her, and to the left, emerging from the shadow between 2 parked cars. Trey. Gareth behind him, to the left. She stopped moving. She did not run through what was happening. She did not have a conversation with herself about what this might mean or whether this was really what it looked like. She had been trained for 10 years by a man who believed that one of the most dangerous things a person could do in a moment of real threat was to spend time hoping it wasn't one. It was one. She adjusted her weight to her back foot, subtle, barely visible. Trey stopped a few feet in front of her. Hey, same Zace he had used in the corridor. Warm, calibrated. The voice of someone who has decided that this interaction is going to go a specific way and the opening is just a formality. I just want to talk, he said. She did not say anything. He took a step closer. You and your sister, he said, have been here for a month, and you haven't gotten the message. His voice lost something as he said it. The warmth dropped out of it the way a coat drops when you take it off. I'm trying to make this easy for you, but you're making it hard. She watched his hands. You should go home, he said, both of you, before this gets worse than it needs to be. She still didn't speak. Something in her silence frustrated him. She could see it. He had expected a response, a reaction, something to work with, and the absence of it was throwing his rhythm off. His hand came out. It hit the car door beside her. Hard. A sound that cracked through the quiet parking lot and was supposed to make her flinch. She did not flinch. He hit it again. Closer. His hand was now between her and the car, his body closer than it had been. Gareth moved to her left, and then everything was simple. Not easy, but simple. She had been trained for exactly this, not for this specific parking lot or this specific moment. Too limited space. One in front, one at the side. She moved first, clean, fast. Everything she knew living in her body exactly the way her father had spent 10 years making sure it would. She had 3 seconds of clear thought before it became purely physical. And in those 3 seconds, she understood 2 things. She was going to have to do this, and she was going to have to do it right, because doing it wrong was going to cost her more than she was willing to pay. So she did it right. Trey went down first. He was bigger than her and stronger than her, and he had about 40 pounds on her, and none of it helped him when she moved inside his reach and removed his balance before he had registered that she was moving. He went down hard and he stayed down. Gareth came from her left and she was already turning. He was faster than she expected and got a grip on her arm before she broke it. Not her arm, his grip. She dropped her weight, pivoted, and had him on the ground in a way that used his own force against him so completely that he seemed surprised by the ground, like he could not account for how he had gotten there. She stood in the space they left. She was breathing hard, not panicked, working. Spence was at the edge of the lot. He'd been standing there the whole time, she realized. He was not moving toward her. He was looking at Trey and Gareth on the ground, and then he was looking at her, and then he turned and walked away quickly and did not look back. She took out her phone. She called Zara. Twist 4 Zara answered immediately. I'm in the east lot, Dana said. Her voice was steady, controlled, the particular steadiness that is not the absence of feeling but the management of it. By the science building. Come now, don't run. Zaza was Eddie moving. Are you hurt? Zara said. No. Trey, yes, both of them. Gareth too. Spence ran. A pause. Come now, Zara, before someone else does. Zara was across campus in 4 minutes. She came through the entrance of the parking lot and saw Dana standing in the middle of the space. Trey was sitting up against a car, one hand on his face, breathing in the way that meant ribs. To stand. Gareth was on one knee. Zara crossed to her sister. You okay? She said quietly. Yes. He started it. Yes, you have to tell me exactly what happened, in order. Right now, before anything else. Dana told her. Precise. Complete. The same way she always told things, Zara listened to all of it in under 2 minutes. Okay, she said. She took out her phone to call campus security, which was when the police car pulled into the lot. Not campus security. Millfield PD saw a single cruiser, lights on, moving with a purpose. She told her someone had already made a call. Someone who was not her. The officer who got out was young. He looked at the lot, at Trey on the ground, at Gareth, at the 2 of them standing there, and he spoke into his radio before he even walked toward them. Within 20 minutes, there were 3 more officers. Within 30, Dana was in handcuffs. Within 45, she was in the back of a police car. Zara stood in the parking lot and watched it happen. She did not make Ace a scene. She did not yell at the officers. She asked clearly and calmly what the charge was. Assault causing bodily harm, the young officer told her. She asked who had made the initial call. He looked at his notes. Senator Boyd Harlow, he said, as if the name explained everything, and in this town. In this moment, it did. Zara looked at Trey, who was now sitting on a gurney that had been brought by the campus medical team that had arrived along with the second police car. He had his phone in his hand. He was not looking at her. Gareth was being seen to nearby. Neither of them looked at her. She stood in the parking lot after the car carrying Dana pulled out, and she stood there for a long time after the lights disappeared. Then she took out her phone. She called her father. He answered before the first ring finished. She told him in under a minute clear. No extra words. He was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. I'm coming, he said. I know, she said. Go to the station. Stay in the lobby. Don't go anywhere else. I know, Dad. I'll be there by 5, he said. Earlier if I can. He hung up. She put her phone in her pocket. She walked to the police station. She sat down on a plastic chair in the lobby and she waited. The lobby of the Millfield Police Department was not a place designed for comfort. Plastics in 2 rows. A water cooler in the corner. Overhead lighting that was too bright for the late hour and made everything look slightly worse than it was. Zara sat in one of the plastic chairs and did not move for a long time. She thought about the parking lot, about the precise sequence of events, about the fact that Dana had done exactly what she was trained to do, exactly what she was supposed to do, and was sitting in a holding cell while Trey Harlow was probably in a hospital room with his father, already on the phone with whoever he needed to be on the phone with. She thought about Patricia Boone's careful nothing. She thought about Dr. Shaw's rehearsed speech. She thought about 7 names, then 9. The students who had come to this campus in same sound of promise she and Dana had come on, and who were gone now, quietly, without ceremony, their departures absorbed by the institution, the same way the institution absorbed everything that contradicted the image it maintained of itself. She took out her notebook. She was not going to sit here and just wait. She opened to a new page and started writing down everything she knew. Everything she had collected, names, dates, patterns, the scholarship email, and the language it used, the Facebook post from Brianna, the thread connecting all of it to the Student Affairs Committee, to Trey. She was going to be ready. She did not know exactly what she was going to be ready for, but she was going to have everything organized and sourced and clear before her father walked through at door, because when he arrived, she wanted to be able to give him the full picture, not a feeling. A picture. She found the 9th name at 2 in the morning. She had been following a thread from one of the other names in the file, a former student named Marcus Webb, who had left Crestwood 18 months ago after a single semester. She had found his LinkedIn, found a comment he had left on a post about university diversity initiatives, something measured and specific about the gap between institutional statements and institutional practice. She had messaged him, not expecting a reply at 2:40. He replied at 2:17. He told her he remembered the scholarship review email. He told her the language was identical to what she had described. He told her that he pushed back he was called into a meeting with an advisor, and the conversation was, in his words, shaped in a direction that made it clear staying was going to be harder than leaving. He left at the end of the semester. He had a job now. He had moved on. But he had kept the emails. He said he would forward them if she thought it would help someone. She said yes. They arrived in her room at 2:31. She read them 3 times. Same language, same vague reference to a discrepancy, same absence of specific detail, same recommendation to submit a written statement, same 2 to 4 week timeline, sent from the same office and opened according to the timestamp in the email header 4 days after Trey Harlow had emailed the financial aid office on an unrelated matter. An email Marcus had received as part of a committee forwarding chain that he had held on to without fully understanding why at the time. 4 days, she added his name to the file, added his emails, added the timestamp. 10 names now. She closed her notebook and looked at the door. Duran walked in at 4:52 in the morning. He had a travel mug of coffee that had gone cold somewhere around the 3rd hour of the drive. He set it on his chair beside Zara when he sat down without offering it, because cold coffee was a thing you drank when you needed something to do with your hands, not something you gave someone else. He looked at her. She looked back. She's in holding, Zara said. She's okay. They said she's okay. I know. I called ahead. Zara looked at the door to the interior of the station. She defended herself, she said. I talked to her before the car came. I know exactly what happened. He put his hands on the car door right next to her face. Twice, Gareth moved to cut off her exit. She had no space. Zara. She stopped. He looked at her with the face that had always been his particular stillness. Not cold, not removed, just held. I know what happened, he said. Tell me what you have. She opened her notebook. She took him through everything. The 10 names, the emails from Marcus Webb, the timestamps, the pattern she had been building for 4 weeks, the connection to the Student Affairs Committee, the connection to Dr. Shaw. He read the pages. She turned toward him, slowly, missing nothing. When she finished, he sat back in his chair. He looked at the ceiling for a moment. Then he looked at her. You did this tonight, he said, while you were waiting. I wasn't going to just sit here, he nodded. Once? The nod that meant something specific that she had seen her whole life, and that meant, without words, exactly right. We need a lawyer, he said. I have someone. I'll call at 6 when office is. He looked at his watch. That's an hour. Okay. Until then, we wait. She looked at the door again. She's okay, he said again. Not because she had asked, because she needed to hear it more than once. I know, Zara said. She did know, but she needed to hear it anyway. They got Dana out at 9:47. 3 hours of paperwork and a phone call from the lawyer, a woman named Renata Fields, who had worked with Duran during his military years, and who spoke to the judge with the specific authority of someone who had done this before and had the case law memorized. Dana walked out of the holding area, and she looked like herself. That was the first thing, the main thing, upright. Eyes clear and present. Jaw at the specific angle that meant she was carrying something but had not been flattened by it. She saw her father and stopped for just a second. Then she crossed the lobby and let him hold her. He held her without saying anything. His hand on the back of her head the way it had been when she was small and things had been hard. She was 21 years old, and it was exactly the right thing. When she stepped back, she looked at his face. I didn't start it, she said. I know. He put his hands on the car. Ina moved Gareth to my left first. He cut off my space before I did anything. I know, Dana. Then why am I? Because that's how this works, he said. Not with anger. With the truth of someone who has known this for a long time. That's what we're going to fix. She looked at him. Then she nodded. And the three of them walked out into the morning together. They sat Sentron's truck in the parking lot for a while before anyone moved to go anywhere. The morning was doing what mornings do in October in South Carolina. Cool and clear, the light coming in low and clean through the windshield. Dana held a cup of coffee from the vending machine inside. She held it with both hands even though it was barely warm. Walk me through it, Duran said. Everything from when you left the library, Dana did. She was precise. She laid it out in order, the library, the shortcut, the lot, the sequence of Trey's approach, his hand on the car door, Gareth's position, her decision. She did not editorialize, she reported. Duran listened to all of it. Camera in that lot, he said. One Zara said from the back seat. East corner. I checked the layout 2 weeks ago. Were you in its range? He said to Dana. I don't know exactly, Dana said. I was in the center of the lot. Maybe. That's what we find out first, Duran said. Boyd Harlow called the police before any report was filed, Zara said. Before Dana could report anything. Before I could. He called before either of us did. Which means someone told him immediately. Duran said. Spence ran, Dana said. The second Gareth went down. Spence turned and left. He called him, Zara said. Or someone in campus security did, Duran said. Either way, it tells us the connection between Harlow and this campus goes further than his. The truck was quiet. Outside, a woman walked past with a stroller. A car reversed out of a spot. The ordinary morning continuing around them. Dad, Zara said. He looked at her in the mirror. She held up her notebook. I have 10 names, she said. Twist 5. She took him through all of it. In the parking lot of the police station, in the clear October morning, she laid out everything she had built over 4 weeks of careful, patient, methodical work. 10 students. 3 years. The scholarship emails with identical language. The timestamps connecting the reviews to Trey's activity in the financial aid system. The Facebook post from Brianna. The emails from Marcus Webb, forwarded at 2:31 in the morning. The pattern connecting all of them to the Student Affairs Committee. Duran read the pages she passed to him over the back of the seat. He read slowly. He looked at the timestamps. He read the email from the financial aid office and held it next to the one Marcus Webb had forwarded and read them together. He set them both down on the seat beside him. He looked out the windshield. "This isn't about you two," he said. "No," Zara said. "It's not." Dana had been quiet. She had been reading along as Zara walked him through it. Now she looked at the file, at the pages laid out across the back seat. 10 people, she said. 10, Zara said. "And I probably haven't found all of them." "No," Duran said, "probably not." The weight of it sat in the truck with them, real and specific, not abstract. 10 people with names and emails and departure dates. 10 scholarships, 10 interrupted educations. "What do we do with this?" Dana said. Not helpless, tactical. She was already past the feeling and into the question. "We get it organized," Duran said. "Everything sourced and dated and clear. And we find out what that camera saw." He paused. "If the footage shows what Day says happened, everything else follows from that. And if it doesn't show enough," Zara said. He looked at her in the mirror. "Then we find another way," he said. "But we start with the camera." Zara looked at the file. She thought about Brianna's post. 43 people had liked it. Nobody had replied. She thought about Marcus Webb, awake at 2 in the morning, forwarding emails he had kept for 18 months, because something in him had held on to them, had known without knowing exactly why that they might matter someday. She thought about 8 other people whose names were in her notebook. 10 people who had come to Crestwood on the same promise she and Dana had come on. And she thought about what her father had said in the diner on Wednesday night.
And the day is gone.
People like him always go too far, eventually. He had gone too far. Now they had to be ready. She straightened the pages, organized them, put the file back together cleanly. "Okay," she said. She looked at her father. "Let's start with the camera," she said. Officer Ray Drummond had a rule about cases that arrived on his desk already resolved. He did not trust them. In 19 years with the Millfield Police Department, he had learned that the cases which came in with a narrative already attached, with the story already told, and the conclusion already drawn before he had looked at a single piece of evidence, were exactly the cases that required the most careful attention, not because the conclusion was always wrong, because it had been chosen before the evidence was examined, which was a different kind of problem. The Rivers case arrived on his desk at 7 in the morning, already resolved. Young woman, assault charge, bodily harm to 2 victims. Caller, Senator Boyd Harlow. Arresting officer's notes clean and brief. No mention of what preceded the contact. No statement from the charged individual about her account of events. No note about the third person who witnesses at the scene had mentioned, but who did not appear anywhere in the paperwork. Drummond read the report. Then he read it again. Then he looked at the name of the caller one more time and set the report down and went to get coffee. He came back. He sat. He opened the request form for campus security footage and filled it out for the east parking lot at Crestwood. 8 to 11 p.m. the previous evening. He filed it at 8:15. Then he pulled up the prior incident report from the same campus. The door, the vandalism. Filed 4 weeks ago, no arrests made. Investigation listed as ongoing. He read that report. He set it beside the new one. He looked at both of them together for a while. The footage arrived in his inbox at 10:40. He did not open it immediately. He finished the report he was working on, answered 2 emails, and refilled his coffee. Then he opened it. The file covered the full time range he had requested. He started from 8 p.m. and moved forward at regular speed, watching the lot. Cars arriving and leaving. A student cutting through from the north entrance. 2 students walking together near the wet edge. At 8:51, a figure entered the frame from the direction of the library. He slowed the playback. He watched. He watched it through once, at the slowed speed without stopping. Then he went back to 8:45, 6 minutes before, and watched from there. What he saw was this. A young woman crossing the parking lot alone, backpack on, moving at a steady pace toward the east exit. 2 figures emerging from the shadow between parked cars on the left side of the frame. Moving with a purpose that the camera captured clearly, because the Zetz-the-Lot single overhead light caught the angle of their approach. Not toward the exit, toward her. He watched the intercept. He watched the figure in front stop, close to the young woman. Watched the hand come out and make contact with the car door beside her once. Then again closer. Watched the second figure move to cut her left side. He watched what she did next. Then he watched it again. Then a third time, slowly, pausing at specific frames because he wanted to be completely certain of the sequence before he wrote a single word in his notes. He was certain after the third viewing. He picked up his pen. He called Duran Rivers at 11:45. Duran answered immediately. Drummond identified himself. Said he's the investigator on his daughter's case. Said he had reviewed the parking lot footage and would like to meet with him and his daughters that afternoon, if possible. There was a brief pause on the line. Is the footage useful? It was a direct question. Drummond appreciated direct questions. Yes, he said, it's useful. A shorter pause this time. 2 o'clock, Duran said. We'll come to you. They came at 1:58. Drummond met them in the lobby and brought them to the small conference room off the main corridor. The room was lit too brightly, the way those rooms always were, and smelled faintly of the coffee that had been sitting in the machine down the hall since early morning. He set up his laptop on the table and turned it to face them. He looked at the 3 of them. DeRiver sat at the center of the table, with his hands resting flat on the surface. He had the particular stillness of someone who had learned to manage himself in rooms where things were about to be decided. He was not nervous. He was present. Zara was to his left. She had a notebook in front of her and a pen in her hand. She looked at the laptop screen with the focused attention of someone who had already thought through several versions of what might be on it. Dana was to his right. She looked tired in the way that a night in a holding cell produced regardless of what kind of person you were. But she was upright, and her eyes were clear, and she had the expression of someone who was ready to hear whatever was about to be said without flinching. Drummond had worked with a lot of people in a lot of difficult situations over 19 years. He had learned to read a room quickly. What he read in this room was a family that had been through something serious and had not been broken by it. That was not nothing. I'm going to show you the footage, he said. I want you to watch it without stopping me. We'll talk after. He pressed play. They watched. Nobody moved while it ran. The lot. The figure of Dana crossing toward the exit. The 2 figures emerging on an intercept course. The overhead light catching the angle of the approach. The hand on the car door. Twice. Gareth moving to the left side. Dana's response. Drummond watched their faces while they watched the screen. Not intrusively. Just present. Reading. Duran's expression did not change. He watched the footage with the same steady attention he had brought to everything since he walked in. Zara's jaw tightened once at the car door moment, just slightly. Then her face was still again. Dana watched herself on the screen with an expression that was harder to read. Not quite disbelief. Particular experience of seeing something you lived through from outside yourself for the first time. The footage ran until the lot was empty again. Trey and Gareth on the ground. Spence gone from the edge of the frame. Dana standing in the space they had left. Drummond stopped it. The room was quiet for a moment. She made contact second, Drummond said. In every frame of this footage, your daughter responds to what was done to her. She did not approach them. She did not initiate contact. She did not escalate without direct physical provocation. He paused. What this footage shows is a defensive response, not an assault. Zara exhaled. A slow, controlled breath that she had clearly been holding for longer than the length of the video. Dana looked at the frozen frame on the screen, said nothing. Duran looked at Drummond. What does this mean in terms of the charge? He said. I'm filing for a full review this afternoon, Drummond said. Based on this footage, the assault charge has no evidentiary foundation. The sequence of events directly contradicts the account given by the complainants. He paused. The charge will be dropped. That's not a prediction. It's what the evidence requires. Dana looked at her hands on the table. Zara looked at her father. Duran was still looking at Drummond with the careful attention of deciding how much trust a situation had earned. There's something else, he said. Drummond waited. Duran Sense looked at Zara. She opened the bag at her feet and placed a folder on the table, then another, then a third. She did not rush. She had organized everything the night before in the police station lobby, and again in the hotel room early that morning, and the file was clean and clear and sourced. Each page had a date. Each claim had a document behind it. 10 students, she said, in 3 years, all scholarship recipients, all students of color, all no longer enrolled at Crestwood. She set the first summary page in front of Drummond and turned it to face him. 3 of them received scholarship review emails with identical language to the one I received 4 weeks ago. She set the email printouts beside the page, which hers on top, Marcus Webb's beneath it. Same office, same vague reference to a discrepancy. No specific detail in any of them. She set down a printed page of timestamps. This shows the dates those reviews were opened, And this, she set down a second page, is a partial record of communication from the Student Affairs Committee office during those same periods. Trey Harlow's name appears in committee correspondence within 4 days of each review being open. Drummond was reading as she spoke. He had stopped looking at her and was looking at the pages, which she took as a good sign. He was a reader. He wanted the evidence, not the argument. I have direct communication from one of the students, she continued. He kept the emails. He forwarded them to me last night. She set Marcus Webb's emails, printed and dated, at the end of the row. He's willing to provide a formal statement. She sat back. Drummond finished reading the top page, turned to the next, read it more slowly. The room was quiet except for the sound of pages turning. You compiled this while enrolled, he said. Not quite a statement, not quite a question. Over 4 weeks, Zara said. Yes, while the harassment was ongoing, Ian. Yes, he looked up at her. Then he looked at Duran. Then he set the file down carefully, the way you set something down when you want to make clear that you are not finished with it. I'm going to need to make some calls, he said. He made them that afternoon. He called the Dean of Students' office at Crestwood and requested all documentation related to scholarship review proceedings initiated through the Student Affairs Committee in the past 3 years. He cited the open investigation. He used language that made it clear the request was not optional. He called the Financial Aid Office and requested the access logs for Dana and Zara Rivers' files, showing who had opened them and when. He called a contact in the DA's office, a woman named Sandra Okafor, who had been there 15 years and who had the particular quality of attention that good prosecutors have, the ability to hear a set of facts and immediately understand what question they were answering. He told her what he had. She was quiet for a moment on the line. Then she said, "Send me the footage first." He sent it. She called Bach in 40 minutes. "I want the full file when it's ready," she said. Everything. He said he would have it to her by end of week. He worked until 8 that evening. Twist 6 Spencer Doyle called the non-emergency line at 6:15 that evening. He asked for the officer handling the Crestwood parking lot case. He gave his name. He said he had information relevant to the investigation. The desk officer transferred him to Drummond's extension. Drummond was still at his desk. He took the call. He set his pen down while the young man talked, and he listened without interrupting, the same way he listened to everything, with the patience of someone who knew that the most important thing a person said was usually not the first thing they said. Spencer Doyle was 22 years old and had been at Crestwood for 3 years. He had attached himself to Trey Harlow's orbit in his first semester because Trey says things easy. Invitations, visibility, the specific sense of social belonging that feels when you are 19 and new somewhere, like the most important thing in the world. He had spent 3 years following Trey around a campus and doing things he had told himself were minor. Small things, not the big things. He was not the one who painted the door. He was not the one who filed the scholarship review requests. He was not the one who had planned what happened in the parking lot on Thursday night. He had just been there for all of it. He had run when Dana went down. He had spent the following day calculating. "Why are you calling?" Drummond said when the young man stopped talking. There was a pause on the line. "Because Trey called me this morning," Spencer said, "before I'd decided what to do. He had a version of events already. He expected me to confirm it." Another pause. He didn't ask. He just assumed I would, and that bothered you. "I don't want to go to prison for him," Spencer said. "He's not my friend. He never was. I just didn't understand that until last night." Drummond found this more honest than most things people told him in that office. Most people offered better reasons, more dignified ones. Spencer Doyle was offering the actual one, which took a different kind of honesty. "Come in tomorrow morning," Drummond said. 9 o'clock. Ask for me by name." Spencer came in at 8:55. He sat across from Drummond in the same small conference room, and he talked for just over 2 hours. He confirmed the parking lot, not just his presence, but the 3 days before it, the specific conversation in which Trey had outlined the plan, the time and the location chosen deliberately, because the East lot had one camera, and Trey believed he knew its range, the expectation of what was supposed to happen, which was not what had happened. He confirmed the door. He had not painted it himself. He had been in the room when it was planned, and he had known about it in advance, and he had said nothing. He confirmed 3 other incidents going back 18 months. Incidents that had not been reported and were not in any file Drummond had. Things that had happened to students who were no longer at Crestwood and who had left without filing anything, because the message they had received, clearly and consistently, was that filing would cost them more than leaving. He confirmed Dr. Shaw, not directly. He had never been in a meeting between Trey and Mr. Shaw. But he had been present when Trey talked about those meetings and about the understanding that had been established, about the fact that the school would not move against him as long as things stayed below a certain threshold. He told Drummond where that threshold had been and how Trey had maintained it for 3 years. Drummond wrote everything down. At the end of the 2 hours, he said, "You understand that providing this statement doesn't automatically insulate you from any charges related to your own involvement." "I know," Spencer said. "You've admitted to prior knowledge of multiple incidents. I know. Knowing that, you still want to give me this." Spencer looked at the table for a moment, then he looked at Drummond. "I kept thinking it wasn't my business," he said, "that I wasn't the one doing it. That made it okay." He paused. "It doesn't make it okay. I knew that last night when I was running across a parking lot because I didn't want to be there when he stopped. I just want to give you what I have." Drummond looked at him for a moment. Then he picked up his pen. "Tell me about Dr. Shaw," he said. Spencer told him. He talked for another 40 minutes. When he was done, Drummond closed his notebook and said, "I'll be in touch." Spencer stood up. He paused at the door the way people pause when they have said something they cannot take back and are feeling the full weight of that for the first time. He left without saying anything else. Drummond sat with his closed notebook for a moment. Then he reached for his phone and called the DA's office. Sandra Okafor answered on the first ring. "I have a witness," he said. "A participant who is prepared to give a full statement." She was quiet for exactly 1 second. "How solid," she said. "Very," he said. "Send me what you have tonight," she said. "I'll look at it in the morning." "There's more," he said. He told her about Dr. Shaw. This time she was quiet for 3 seconds. "Get me everything," she said. "All of it." "By tomorrow afternoon," he said. He hung up. He sat for a moment in his office in the quiet of the late afternoon, the files spread across his desk, the footage still open on his laptop, the 2 hours of Spencer Doyle's voice still present in the room the way voices sometimes stayed after the person had gone. He thought about 19 years of cases that arrived onto his desk already resolved. He thought about a young woman sitting in a holding cell, while the person who had cornered her in a parking lot sat in a hospital room with a lawyer. He closed the footage window. He picked up his pen and kept working. Kissed 7. The call from Duran's lawyer came at 8 that evening. Renata Fields told him that the Harlow family's attorney had reached out requesting a meeting. A private meeting, not through the court. At a location of Duran's choosing. Duran listened to this. "When?" he said. "They suggested tomorrow evening," Renata said. He thought about the folder Zara had put together, about what Drummond had told him that afternoon, which was everything, because Drummond turned out to be the kind of man who believed in giving people the information about their own situation. "Tell them tomorrow evening is fine," he said. "The hotel, 7:30. He hung up. He went to find his daughters. They were in Zara's room. Zara was at her desk with the file open, adding the notes from the afternoon's meeting with Drummond. Daisy was on her bed with a textbook which told him she was processing something because Dana always reached for work when she needed to move through feeling. He stood in the doorway. "The Harlows are coming tomorrow night," he said. Zara looked up. Dana lowered the book. "Here," he said. "The hotel, 7:30. What do they want?" Zara said. "What people like them always want when they realize the ground has moved," he said. "They want to make it go away." He looked at Zara's file. "Is it ready?" he said. She looked at it, at 10 names documented and sourced, at timestamps and email chains and the forwarded messages from Marcus Webb. At the statement Drummond had told her Spencer Doyle had given that afternoon, which she had not yet been able to add, but which she knew was there, waiting. "Yes," she said. "Then we'll be ready too," he said. Senator Boyd Harlow arrived at 7:28. He came with his wife Sandra and a man in a dark suit who was introduced as their attorney, Jonathan Price, the name offered in the tone of someone who expected it to land with weight. Duran opened the door before they knocked. That was the first thing that changed Boyd Harlow's face. A small change, a micro adjustment in the set of his expression, quickly controlled, But Duran had been watching people's faces for 52 years, and he saw it clearly. He stepped back and held the door. "Come in," he said. The hotel room was modest. One sitting area, a couch, and 2 chairs, a coffee table between them. Duran had arranged seating a sping before they like the way he had learned to arrange spaces. Something important was about to happen in them. Clear sightlines, nothing between him and the door. Zara and Dana were already seated. Boyd saw them when he came in. Something moved across his face again, reassessment. He had not expected to be there, or he had expected that Duran would have sent them away, that this would be a conversation between men of a certain kind. He adjusted quickly, but not quickly enough. Sandra Harlow looked at Zara and Dana with an expression that was working through several things at once. Something that was not quite guilt and not quite contempt, but contained elements of both. They sat down. Jonathan Price took the remaining chair and placed his briefcase at his feet with the practiced efficiency of a man who had done this particular kind of meeting many times before. Boyd leaned forward slightly, a posture of a man who was used to being the one who set the tone. I think we all want the same things here," he said. His voice was warm, measured. The voice of a man who had spent 30 years in rooms where the way you said something mattered as much as what you said. Duran said nothing. Boyd continued. "This situation has grown in ways that serve no one. My son has a future ahead of him. Your daughters have futures. There are legal proceedings being initiated that are going to be long and difficult and damaging for everyone involved, regardless of how they resolve." He paused, the pause of a man who knew how to use silence. "We'd like to discuss a resolution." Jonathan Price opened his briefcase. He set a document on the coffee table and moved it forward. Beside it, he placed an envelope. "The figure inside represents a good faith gesture," Boyd said, "in exchange for a withdrawal of the complaint and an agreement to do—" "Stop," Durance said, not loudly. He had not raised his voice once in this conversation, and he did not raise it now. Boyd stopped. Duran looked at him. He looked at him the way he looked at things he had already thought through completely, with the particular quality of attention that meant the decision was already made, and what was happening now was the part that came after. "I know what's in the envelope," Duran said. "I know what the document says. I know this is not the first time Jonathan has prepared something like this." He paused. "I know because 2 of the families by your son's conduct over the past 3 years have been in contact with my daughter in the last 48 hours. The room was very quiet. Boyd's face did not change completely. He was experienced enough for that. But something shifted behind it. A recalculation happening quickly. Sandra, a small sound, not quite a word. Zarans looked at Zara. She reached into the bag at her feet. She placed a folder on the coffee table, then another, then a third and a fourth, moving with the same unhurried deliberateness she had used in Drummond's conference room, like there was no urgency. Like the time for urgency had already passed, and what was happening now was simply the laying out of what was true. She straightened the stack. 10 students, she said. 3 years. Every name is in there, every departure date, every scholarship review that was opened without legitimate basis. She set her own email printout on top. Mine is included, as is documentation confirming that no discrepancy existed in my application before the review was initiated. She set down the timestamps page. This shows the window between Trey's activity in the city system and the opening of each review. She set down the final page. These are emails retained by one of the 10 students, forwarded to me 2 nights ago. The language is identical to my own review notice. Sent from the same office, same procedure, same absence of any specific detail. She paused. There is also a formal witness statement given to Officer Drummond yesterday morning by a participant who was present at multiple incidents over the past 3 years. That statement names your son specifically. It also addresses communications and arrangements involving the administration of Crestwood University. She folded her hands on her knee. She had said what there was to say. Boyd Harlow looked at the folders on the table. He looked at them for a long time. Jonathan Price leaned forward and folded her folder toward himself. He began reading the first page. His jaw tightened as he read. He turned to the second page. He read more slowly. He set the folder down. He looked at Boyd. Boyd was still looking at the table. The room was quiet in a way that felt different from the quiet at the beginning of the meeting. Fuller, heavier. The quiet of something that has already happened rather than something that is still being negotiated. This was supposed to be simple, Boyd said. He had not meant to say it. It came out without the professional warmth, without the calibrated tone. Just the actual thought arriving unmanaged. It was never simple, Dana said. He looked at her. She held his gaze with the steadiness of someone who had spent a night in a holding cell and walked out of it standing straight and had not slept enough since and did not need to. You made it complicated the moment your son started doing this to people, she said. We didn't make it complicated. We just didn't leave. He looked away first, Sandra said Boyd. He did not respond to her. He was looking at the folders on the table, not reading them, looking at them, at the physical reality of what they represented. 10 people, 3 years, an institution that had been arranged, with Son at the center of it, to push out the people it had promised to welcome. Duran said, I'm going to tell you something. Boyd looked at him. I didn't agree to this meeting to negotiate, Duran said. I agreed to it so you could see what we have before you make your next decision. So that decision is an informed one. He looked at the envelope, still on the table, untouched. There is no amount in that envelope that changes what happened to 10 people on that campus. There is no document that makes their interrupted education not have happened. He paused. But what you do in the next few days is going to matter. To the D's office, to the university investigation, to every decision that gets made going forward. Boyd was quiet. The other families, Duran continued, will make their own choices. I can't speak for them, but they are making them now. They are not waiting. He let that sit. Boyd Harlow sat with it. He was a man who had spent 30 years in rooms where power moved in specific directions, and he had always known which direction it was moving. He had learned to feel it before it became visible. That sense, that reliable sense, was telling him something now that he did not want to hear. Reached out and picked up the envelope from the table. He handed it to Price without looking at him. Price took it, put it back in his briefcase, closed the clasp. Boyd stood up. Sandra stood immediately after him. She looked at Zara and Dana one more time. What she was looking for in their faces, or what she found there, was something Darren did not try to read. It was hers to carry. She did not say anything. She walked out. Boyd followed her to the door. He paused with his hand on the frame. He did not turn around. "My son," he said. He stopped not. He did not finish the sentence. He walked out. Price lingered for a moment. He looked at Diron with the expression of a man who had been in this profession for a long time, and had, in that time, developed the ability to feel the exact weight of a situation with precision. He said nothing. He left. The door closed. The room was quiet. Dana let out a long breath. Zara uncrossed her legs, sat back, put both hands flat on her knees. Daron stayed where he was, looking at the closed door. He's going to cooperate with the D, Zara said. Yes, it was the best option he has left. Yes. She looked at the folder still spread across the coffee table. Drummond said the DA will file by end of next week, she said. That's what he told me, too. Dana picked up one of the folders, looked at the cover, set it back down carefully. 10 people? She said, quietly, not to anyone in particular, just the number. Held for a moment in the room. Sefsum can still appeal their cases, Zara said. 2 graduated and moved forward, and I don't think they want to come back. But 7. If the university is facing legal exposure from the DA's investigation, they'll have to open the reviews. Duran looked at her. I've already drafted the outline, she said, for the appeal argument. Renat said she'd look at it. He looked at her for a moment. Then he said, when did you do that? Last night, after you went to sleep. Dana looked at her sister. Zara met her look with the particular expression she had when she had done something completely characteristic of herself and was not going to apologize for it. Dana almost smiled. Of course you did, she said. The DA filed charges against Trehe Harlow 11 days later. The list was substantial: assault, premeditated, targeted harassment, sustained pattern, academic fraud in connection with manipulation of scholarship proceedings. Hate crime enhancement applied based on the content and documentation of the group chat logs Spencer Doyle had provided. Gareth Doyle faced a co-participation charge in the assault. Spencer Doyle received a significantly reduced charge in exchange for his cooperation and his statement, both of which the DA's office described the documentation as materially significant to the case. The Crestwood internal review was opened the same week. Dr. Shaw submitted her resignation before the review board sent her the formal notification of the inquiry. She cited personal reasons. The interim administration accepted the resignation and issued a statement committing to a full review of all cases involving the Student Affairs Committee over the preceding 3 years. Zara read the statement on her phone in the library. The same floor, the same table near the window that she had started to think of as hers. She read it twice. She put her phone down. She sat with it for a moment, not long. The afternoon light was coming through the window at the angle it came in at this hour, low and warm, hitting the edge of the table and the cover of her notebook. She opened her notebook to the page where she had written 10 names. She looked at them. She took her pen and she did not cross them out. She circled them, all 10. Each one in a single clean circle. She closed the notebook. She picked up her pen and pulled the paper in front of her toward her and went back to work. 3 weeks after that, the university sent formal notifications to the 7 students whose cases were being reviewed. Each letter acknowledged that the scholarship proceedings affecting them had been initiated without legitimate basis and were being reopened. Each letter offered reinstatement, remediation, or both, according to the individual circumstances. 2 of the 7 declined. They had rebuilt. They had made new lives in new places, and Crestwood was a chapter they had closed, and they were not interested in reopening it. Zara's understood that completely. 5 accepted. Zara did not find out their individual decisions immediately. She found out over the course of a week, through messages and emails, and in one case a phone call from Marcus Webb, who called to tell her he had received his letter and had accepted the remediation offer, and who wanted to say thank you. She told him he did not need to thank her. He said he wanted to anyway. She let him. After she hung up, she sat in the hotel room, which was where she had been working that afternoon because Duran had extended his stay through the end of the month. And she looked at the wall for a moment, just a moment. Then she went back to what she had been working on. The morning after the last notification went out, Zara and Dana walked through the front gate of Crestwood University together. Not for the first time. They had been going to class the entire time. That had never stopped. Not during the investigation, not during the week the DA filed, not during the days but the university's statement circulated through the campus and shifted the air in the way that significant institutional acknowledgement shifts things. They had never stopped going to class. But this morning felt different. The university statement had gone public the night before. Trey Harlow was no longer enrolled. Dr. Shaw was no longer affiliated with the institution. The Student Affairs Committee was under administrative oversight pending restructuring, and the scholarship held by Zara and Dana Rivers had been formally reaffirmed in writing, with a notation in the official record that the previous review had been initiated without legitimate basis and was permanently closed. They walked through the gate and the campus spread out ahead of them the same way it always had. Same brick. Same stone paths, same banners in deep green and gold hanging between the buildings. Zara looked at all of it. She had looked at it many times. She had cataloged it and read it and understood what it was saying and who it said it to and who it had not been saying it to for a long time. She looked at it now and it looked like what it was. A place to learn, a place they had earned. Nothing more was needed from it. Dana walked beside her. Their pace was the same pace it had always been, unhurried, deliberate, the pace of people who know where they are going and have decided not to be rushed about getting there. Dr. Okafor's office called Renata yesterday, Dana said. I know, she told me. The trial date, spring, Zara said. Probably April. Dana nodded, thinking it through. We'll be here, she said. Yes, Zara said. We will. They crossed the center of the quad where students were moving in the morning patterns of people with schedules and intentions, and the specific order and momentum of a university day. Some people looked at them. Some did not. The looks that came were different from the looks that had come in those first weeks. Not entirely different, not magically transformed. This was not a place that had been changed overnight into something it had not been before, but something has shifted in it. Something real and documented and on the record. They walked. Zara thought about 10 names in a circle in her notebook. She thought about Brianna's Facebook post. 43 people who had liked it. Nobody who had replied. She thought about Marcus Webb awake at 2 in the morning, forwarding emails he had kept for 18 months cause something in him had known they might matter. She thought about her father sitting beside her on a plastic chair in a police station lobby at 5 in the morning, saying, I know in a voice that meant all of it at once. I know what happened. I know you did it right. I know this is not how it should be. I know we are going to fix it. She thought about Dana standing in the parking lot in the dark, not running, not making a sound that would have given him something to work with, just standing, ready. They reached the building entrance. Dana held the door. Zara walked through. The door swung closed behind them, and the building wrapped around them the way buildings do, with its particular temperature and its corridor sounds and its specific smell of books and floor cleaner and the coffee someone was always brewing somewhere on the second floor. Their first class was in 12 minutes. They walked toward it. Behind them, at the far edge of the parking lot, Duran's truck was pulled into the last spot near the fence. He had driven up that morning before they woke, arriving before 6, letting himself into the lobby of their building with the guest code they had given him months ago. He had not told them he was coming. He had wanted to see it without them knowing he was watching, because there was something about being witnessed that changed a thing, even slightly. And he wanted to see the true version of it. He had watched them come through the gate. He had watched cross the quad. He watched until they went through the building entrance, and the door closed and they were inside. He sat in his truck in the parking lot in the clear morning, and he did not move for a moment. He had spent 30 years preparing them for a world that was not always going to be fair or safe or on their side. He had given them everything he had, discipline and skill, and the understanding that control was not about controlling others. It was about never losing control of yourself, especially when everything around you was trying to take it. He had watched them use all of it. He thought about Dinaparka making the right decision in 3 seconds of real threat. He thought about Zara in a police station lobby at 2 in the morning building a file by hand because she was not going to sit still while her sister was inside. He thought about both of them walking out of Dr. Shaw's office and into the stairwell, and Dana saying she knew and Zara saying yes, she did. He sat in the parking lot a while longer. Then he started the truck. He had a 6-hour drive back to Georgia. The gym opens at 7 tomorrow morning, and he had 4 clients before noon. He pulled out of the spot. He drove toward the gate. He did not look back. He did not need to. He knew exactly what was behind him.